well, they let him figure it out. So he's like standing over me, and I look up at him. I scored the touchdown, by the way, and I rifled that ball right between his eyes. I said, fool, you ever hit me in two-hand touch of street football, man, it's going to be me and you and everything. So they separate us and all this other nonsense and everything. And his older brother's on the stoop going like this, shaking his head, going, I said, you're not surprised? He goes, my brother's a knucklehead. I'm not surprised he did that.
Freddie, why is he probably in jail?
Oh, he had been in a few detention centers before that incident.
He's a true knucklehead.
He was completely on his way as far as that goes. We got to bring in a special guest. Shannon's beautiful wife, Yamina. She wants to win about the best game she played growing up. Mrs. Penn, the flow is yours, young lady.
Hi, can you hear me?
We got you.
Wonderful. So I was calling in to talk about our kickball. Shannon and I knew each other probably since about the age of 8 or 9.
Wow.
Years old, and we used to play kickball in the front yard. We made up our own bases, like, the tree was first base. If you kicked it, past the well house, because we were in the country, that was a home run. And, Shannon can tell you essentially that I used to run it out there. I was the fastest, even with no shoes, walking, running in barefoot. Like, he couldn't do anything with me, pretty much.
Wow.
Oh, trust me, we knew that part. The best athlete in the house is Mrs. Penn.
Stop trying to make points on every female that's connected with this show. Is it really panic time for the Bengals? That's next on Freddie and Harry on ESPN Radio.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6759. That's 800-575-6759. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Amber and Ian.
Bob Costas, the legend, kind enough to give us some of his time.
Where were you when you saw 50-50? Fire away.
I was at dinner with my wife, and she got an alert on her phone. At that point, he was 5 for 5 with 2 homers. So he still had another homer in him.
And you went, check, please.
Almost.
Amber and Ian. Weeknights at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on Sirius XM Channel 80.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Wednesday, they haven't looked dominant, but I'll tell you why you shouldn't be concerned about the fact that the Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Hey, it's Greeny, and it's time to turn the page towards Week 4 in the NFL season, which is a fascinating one, starting with the Cowboys and Giants. Could Dallas be in all kinds of trouble if they drop this one? We'll talk about that and more. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
I've been a runner my whole life.
Just survived the New York City Marathon!
But a few years ago, my life went off script in a way that I didn't see coming. I was diagnosed with epilepsy.
You just toppled over head first.
Because of that, I decided to do something possibly absurd, try and outrun a horse. 50 miles against a horse. I got this. I'm Nicole Teeny, and from ESPN and 30 for 30 podcast, this is Girl v. Horse. Search and follow Girl v. Horse in your favorite podcast player.
Carlin versus Joe on ESPN Radio.
Who scares you right now? When you go to the NBA, you've got certain teams like in baseball and in hockey. You have the teams that scare everyone because they are loaded. Who scares you right now in the NFC? Legitimately, like, oh man, that team's a problem. Nobody wants to go to Minnesota in January. Like, yeah, Minnesota's look good, no knock, but who's got you right now?
Carlin versus Joe. Weekdays at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and on Sirius XM Channel 80. ESPN Radio Extra Point with Michelle Smallman.
My takeaway from the game last night is justice for Doug Peterson, because I think it's more on Trevor Lawrence than it is on Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson is likely going to be the fall guy for this. If in fact somebody is the fall guy, if they do feel like, hey, we paid this guy and Trevor Lawrence a lot of money. He was the most highly touted quarterback coming out of college since Andrew Luck. He was a can't miss guy. But this to me is on Trevor Lawrence. So much of this is on him. He's been inconsistent. He turns the ball over all the time. Watching the game last night, they had the graphic up there. 61 turnovers since entering the NFL in 2021. We talk about Josh Allen and the turnovers all the time. Why don't we focus on that with Trevor Lawrence? And I know he had that disastrous first season with Urban Meyer. I know that he's dealt with injuries. But at some point, we have to stop using those as excuses when we talk about his development and where it's not at compared to what the expectations are.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first time Nana moments.
And welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments.
Coming up on baseball tonight, welcome to the final week of baseball's regular season. There are still divisions up for grabs, the AL East, the AL West, and also the NL West. But the main focus this week will be on which 6 teams secure wildcard spots, and will one of them be the Atlanta Braves? It's the first of 3 between the Braves and the Mets in the ATL, and it's next on ESPN Radio.
Sweeping, he makes the grab. What a catch. Towards the corner, and it's gone. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
This is Baseball Tonight on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Now, here's Kevin Winter.
6 days left. That's it in baseball's regular season. The Phillies, Brewers, and Guardians have all wrapped up their divisions. The Yankees' magic number is down to 1 over the Orioles to win the American League East. And wouldn't you know it, those 2 teams begin a 3-game series in the Bronx tonight. The Astros and Dodgers have leads of 4 and 3 games, respectively, over their nearest competitors, and each begin a series tonight against those teams. And that's where the wild card comes into play. In the American League, the Orioles by 3.5 over the Tigers. Yes, Detroit. Tigers have a half-game lead over the Royals, and then it's Minnesota and Seattle. In the National League, Padres, Mets, Diamondbacks, and Braves are all separated by 5 games in the loss column. Atlanta beginning the day, a game and a half back of Arizona for the final spot. As we welcome you inside our studio in baseball tonight, here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I'm Kevin Winter, Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio, brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Don't forget to tune in to today's trivia question, airing later on in the broadcast, all brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Those 6 wildcard positions are going to be determined all this week. And as we enter play tonight in the National League, the Padres do have a 3-game lead on the Mets. New York is a half game up on the Diamondbacks. A half game up on the Diamondbacks, 2 up on Atlanta. This is where it gets interesting. The Mets are 2 games up on the Atlanta Braves. That means Atlanta is 1.5 behind Arizona for the final postseason berth in the National League. Atlanta could miss the postseason entirely. And wouldn't you know it, we have the Mets and the Braves tonight. With more, let's go to Truist Park in Atlanta, join our broadcast team alongside Greg Golson. Here's Sean Kelly.
Kevin, thank you very much. There's an excitement around the ballpark for obvious reasons. Some of them you already laid out, but it is the series of the year right now for not only the Braves, but, Greg, the Mets, too, who hold that 2-game lead over Atlanta in this situation. Kind of harkens back to 2022 a little bit. And I'm sure the Mets and their fans don't want to talk about that, but here we are, two teams that are vying for one of those 6 spots that Kevin referred to.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great atmosphere here in Atlanta. And like you said, I think there's probably enough echoes in memories of the people in the New York clubhouse that they don't want to discuss 2022, different season. They had a great year, and it just kind of came crashing down against the Braves. And I got to believe the Braves are looking at it going, hey, we did this once. Let's just do it again right now. And, I mean, they've been to the playoffs for 7 straight years. It's kind of a regular thing to see the Braves in the playoffs.
The Mets are 62-34 since early June. The Braves, meanwhile, have had a horrific season with regard to injuries, but yet they've kind of put it together here of late. Do you believe in momentum? Does one team have more than the other, or does it even matter into this 3-game series?
I kind of feel like it got erased with the off day. They both did what they needed to do last week to keep it where it's at. I just don't look at momentum coming into a game this big. I don't think one team's going, hey, you know what, we're playing really well. Both teams are doing what they need to do. Yeah, the Mets are playing unbelievable since June 1st. But the Braves can kind of look around the room going, man, you know what? We had career years last year. Our guys didn't produce. Strider's out. Acuna's out. And we're still here. And so you have a little bit on both sides of where they're looking at each other going, yeah, you know what, it doesn't matter. Let's see what happens tonight.
The Braves are going to push Chris Sale off until tomorrow. So Schwellenbach gets the ball tonight for Brian Snitker. Meanwhile, Luis Severino goes for New York. Preview that pitching matchup for us tonight. I
mean, Severino bounced back year, horrendous year last year, and he comes back and in talking to manager Mendoza before the game, it was all about his preparation and attention to details. And you know what? All right, this game slows down the older you get, and it gets harder. You're not able to just go out and just throw stuff up against the wall and get everybody out. He realized that after last year, put in the work, and he's showing right now 11-6. Just a great 3 ERA, throwing really well. Schwellenbach is a strike-throwing machine, and the guys that I've talked to already are going, there's not an atmosphere big enough. It's like he doesn't have a heartbeat. He almost throws too many strikes. So it's going to be a great pitching matchup tonight.
Yeah, it should be all 3 games between these two teams. This best of 3 determines a lot. It also determines, Kevin, the tiebreaker. If these two teams are head-to-head in a tiebreak situation, each has won 5 in the 10 prior meetings this season. Giddy up. Let's go. Braves and Mets. Game 1 of this 3-game series here tonight in Atlanta.
Guys, thank you very much. Sean Kelly and Greg Olson have our matchup tonight. It is that tiebreaker is of vital importance because it was a couple of years ago, baseball got rid of game 163, meaning there's no more playing game. It is now straight from the end of the regular season. You go to the postseason. If there are tiebreakers that need to be had, it is the head-to-head matchup, and that's where we serve. The Braves tonight, minus 145 of the money line behind Spencer Schwellenbach at ESPN Bet. Your total is sitting at 7.5. Lots of interesting games on this slate, and we begin with the Chicago White Sox taking on the Angels. Why do I start with Chicago and the team that has 36 wins? Because they have 120 losses. There could be history tonight. The next loss by the White Sox sets the record for futility in Major League Baseball. There could be a history tonight. Now let's go to the other side of that division where lots of fun things are happening in Detroit.
3-2, runners are off. The pitch. He's swinging the line drive down the right field line, hooking to the corner. Fair ball! 1 hop into the seats. 2 runs will score. Tigers take the lead in the 5th on a 2-out 2-run double from Perez.
Dan Dickerson with the call. 97-1 the ticket.
Now the 3-2. Swing and a miss. Got him. A fired-up Tarek Skubal walks off the mound. 97 wipes out Morales. 7 strikeout ends the 7th. This crowd on their feet.
2-0 when Skubal left. 7 innings of 2 hits, shutout ball, walking 1, striking 7. Tigers beat the Rays 2-1. They're a half game up on Kansas City for the number 2 spot in the wild card. Detroit has a real shot at playing October baseball. Their manager, A.J. Hinch.
There'll be a time and place for me to reflect on this. This is about the players and really what they're doing daily to show up ready to play. And we're pushing as hard as we can. This is important. We know that. We're not underestimating, the team across the way in Tampa. They play close games all the time. We need more wins to get to the finish line, but these players are really doing it and responding to not just me, but our coaching staff and the energy that's provided around a playoff race is palpable. palpable. You can feel it. Like, you know what's going on, and I'm really proud of this group.
Let's welcome in ESPN baseball insider and reporter Jesse Rogers, who joins us. And Jesse, let's start with the Tigers. That win puts them a half game up in the number 2 position and for the second AL wildcard spot. What kind of story are we looking at here with Detroit?
A great one because it's unexpected, right? And I know for a fact that team did not think for a moment they could contend going back to January and February as they began spring training. I mean, they had chances to sign some of those free agents that were lingering, like Matt Chapman would have fit perfect. But I know that the team wanted to open up some spots for some young guys and let things grow. And you saw what they did at the deadline. I don't blame them for thinking about the future. It just wasn't necessarily their turn. But then all of a sudden things changed. It actually started in Chicago. They swept the White Sox, as many teams have, and they haven't looked back. So it's a great story because it's so unexpected. And I think internally they're as surprised as anybody.
Let's look back to the trade deadline. I saw this headline on the internet, which is sometimes deaf and sometimes great, but this is awesome. The Jack Flaherty trade, an accidental win now move. Do you think the Tigers actually regret that trade?
You know, look, they're in the moment that they're in now. I don't think they have any regrets about what they did. I mean, I know Scott Harris, the president, very well, and he had a long-term plan, and it made a lot of sense. Their team was growing. There were 3 other teams in the AL Central that were ready to take a playoff berth this year. It wasn't necessarily Detroit's turn, but all of a sudden it has turned into Detroit's turn. I think it's a spot for them to lose. They play the White Sox to end the season. That's 3 easy wins. So I think they're going to get in, and it's just a great story, no matter what they did at the trade deadline. Like, this is the beauty of the sport. You just can't predict it. And I think staying on a path and being surprised is a great, great, satisfying thing happening in Detroit.
ESPN baseball insider Jesse Rogers. Final thought on the Tigers, because they had that victory today. How dangerous could they be in the postseason because of Tarek Skubal?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just Tarek Skubal, to be honest. It's the bullpen. I mean, I've talked to a lot of GMs and executives that are not in the race, and a lot of them have been pointing at San Diego as the team to watch that isn't necessarily a division winner or at the top of fans' minds. But because of their bullpen, a lot of people in the game like the Padres. I think you could sort of make that case for Detroit. They have this incredible bullpen. Skubal, obviously, at the top of the rotation helps. I don't know if they can make that much noise. No experience, they're going to be on the road. But if you shorten the game one way or the other, either with a rotation or this great bullpen, you always have a shot. And so that's why maybe Detroit can make some noise. Also, the mojo that they have going, the momentum, all that stuff could play a part. I still think they'd be an underdog in any playoff series.
And that's pretty much expected. Jesse Rogers, our baseball insider. We're going to have more from Jesse coming up, including why he thinks this series that we have, the Braves and the Mets, is the Mets to lose. In fact, coming up next on Baseball Tonight, how have the Mets been the best team in baseball here in the second half? We find out next. You're listening to Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app.
What's up, y'all? It's Drewski, here to talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. When my lineup hits, I can get my money in less than 15 minutes.
Right now, Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks Daily Fantasy app and use code OT. That's code OT on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
When we're back in our hometown, Baymont by Wyndham feels like a home away from home. At check-in, we get a cookie and a warm welcome. We earn Wyndham Rewards points on our qualified stay. Our room always has a comfortable spot to curl up and free Wi-Fi to stay in touch. We start our day with a free hot breakfast before reuniting with some old friends. With over 500 locations to choose from, come on in to Baymont, a trusted brand by Wyndham. Get the lowest price at wyndhamhotels.com.
New York Liberty.
Have a night. See. The journey to the top starts here.
Las Vegas Aces on top again.
That girl's incredible. She's something special. I know. The WNBA playoffs, presented by Google, on the networks of ESPN.
You have cancer. There's nothing you can do to prepare yourself.
Round 1 of chemotherapy. I'm going to fight it. I'm going to survive. There's no way I'm going to let this
save my life. It may save my children's life. It may save
someone you love.
Wait, if this cancer about you, let's do it.
Live. Fight like hell. And when you get too tired to fight, let somebody else fight for you.
Because of all the donations, mine is one of the lives that's been saved. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Visit v.org/donate. Visit v.org/donate.
Saturday on ACC Network.
Touchdown, Florida State!
The Seminoles ride into Dallas for the Mustangs' first conference matchup as a member of the ACC.
Two talented football teams on both sides of the ball. This one has everything that you want.
ACC primetime football. Florida State and SMU. Saturday at 8 Eastern on ACCN and streaming live on the ESPN app.
I'm Clinton Yates, kiddos, host of the podcast ESPN Daily. Every weekday morning, I'll bring you the best sports story you'll hear all day. Today on ESPN Daily. It's part 4 of our series, Death of a Sports Town. With Oakland's final Major League game happening this Thursday, we turn to the one question we've yet to explore. Does a move to Las Vegas make any sense for the Athletics? That's ESPN Daily. Follow us and listen wherever you get good podcasts.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Wednesday, they haven't looked dominant, but I'll tell you why you shouldn't be concerned about the fact that the Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Beware the MLB wildcards. They're here to catch fire, to bring the heat, and light up the scoreboard. Just a smoked. Because this is the MLB postseason.
Buckle up. You never know what can happen.
Where all it takes is one hot streak to make a run for the title. Welcome to October. The MLB Wildcard Series. October 1st through the 3rd on ESPN.
This is Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
I'm Kevin Winter with you. Baseball tonight. Series of the year, Mets and the Braves. Mets are the second wild card right now in the National League. Braves are out of the postseason. Should it end today? It doesn't. There are 6 days left to go. The Braves have a chance. Take 2 out of 3 from the Mets. You're in good position. Sweep, you're in better position. But speaking of positions, the Mets have been incredible since June 3rd. We go to Truist Field in Atlanta. Welcome in Tim Healy, who joins us here on ESPN Radio, Newsday writer for the beat writer for the New York Mets and for Newsday. Tim, 62-34. They've won 2 out of every 3 games pretty much since June 3rd. Have the Mets? How have they done this?
That is a great question, and it really comes down to virtually everything breaking their way for 3.5 going on 4 months, which has just been unreal, from the starting pitching to Jose Iglesias performing at an all-star level to losing Lindor but not losing any production at shortstop. It's just been borderline absurd, really.
It is remarkable. All right, let's look at this kid, Luis Angel Acuna. This has been a spark and a half. Are we projecting here? Can he have some kind of impact for the squad in October?
He totally can, especially if Lindor is not available, which is to be decided or to be figured out. Acuna, over the past week, has been head and shoulders at least above what the Mets reasonably expected from him. Now, for people who didn't follow his minor league season, Acuna was in AAA all year, probably wasn't going to get called up because he had not had a good season with Syracuse. He was well below league average offensively. He stole a lot of bases, but also got caught a lot. So, for as good as he is defensively at 3 up the middle positions, he wasn't really on the major league radar in a meaningful way for 2024. Then Lindor gets hurt, and they call him up out of desperation, really. And they figure if he can just catch the ball at shortstop and hit a little bit, batting 9th, then that's a win. And he's done so much more than that. It's surprised everybody.
I mean, yeah, do the basics. I just need you to do the basics. Anything else is going to be a bonus, and he certainly has been a bonus. Tim Healy of Newsday joins us here on Baseball Tonight. Mets and the Braves coming up from Truist Park. Tim, how much are the Mets using the 2022 series at the end of the season, games 156 through 158, as, I don't want to say a measuring stick or a barometer, but as more as, look, it's time to flip the script and pay these guys back?
Well, they definitely want to flip the script, but I also think the narrative or the idea that it's motivation or that they want to avoid I think that's overblown a little bit. The parallels are a bit uncanny given the time of year, given the standings, but everything else is different because that Mets team in 2022 went wire to almost wire in the division. But in September, it was like a slow motion. You could see them slowing down, losing a game here and there that they should not have. And this year's the opposite. They started out terrible, and then they've been amazing for months now. And the team feels different, not only in a vibes way, but you can tell that the way they feel about themselves, it's totally different. Even though objectively, statistically, these Mets are not as good as the 2022 Mets. In an atmosphere way, it could not be more different. And the same is true, really, for the Braves. The Braves at that time were the defending World Series champions, and this year they just look like a shell of their usual selves after all those injuries and whatnot.
Yeah, a ton of injuries have derailed the things for the Braves. And if you don't remember 2022, I don't blame you, especially if you're a Met fan. You erased it from your mind. It's okay. I get it. The Braves swept the Mets in a series like this and eventually took on the position of first place in the National League East. Tim Healy of Newsday joining us here on Baseball Tonight.
30th pitch from Diaz. A 1-2 is his final pitch of the night. A swing and a miss. Strike three, and the ball game is over. The final score, the New York Mets 2 and the Philadelphia Phillies 1.
All right, Tim. Is this guy back or what? Where are we here with Edwin Diaz for the New York Mets?
Where we are with Edwin Diaz is where we always are. Edwin Diaz is back until he's not. So he is electric a lot of the time. Saturday, 4 outs. Sunday, 6 outs. That's probably his best two-day stretch as a member of the Mets, maybe as a big leaguer, probably in his pitching life. But we've seen enough of Edwin Diaz now, including this year, including basically any season he's had except for 2022 when he was amazing the whole time, that sometimes he just gets out of whack. And sometimes he's wild, or sometimes he's suddenly hittable. And that might only last a night or two, but at this time of year, a night or two can swing the season. So he's been excellent lately, absolutely. You can't ask for anything more than what he's given you over the past, really a month almost now, ever since some hiccups in San Diego and Arizona. But, he's Edwin Diaz. He's not Mariano Rivera.
Nope. Is Carlos Mendoza going to lean on him more, do you think? Like more of what he did this weekend?
Yes.
All right, so that's going to be the plan?
Yeah, I mean, he's your best reliever, whether he's going good or not. So you're going to see more of that because it's going to be playoff-style usage because for the Mets, this is basically the playoffs. Tonight especially is a huge game.
When we start this final thought, Tim Healy, Newsday, joining us here, Baseball Tonight. As we sit here now with the kind of mojo the Mets have been operating on, as we've mentioned, ever since June, basically, but really Citi Field has just been electric the last couple of weeks and the last couple of home games. What kind of mojo is this team working with, and how deep can they go?
I think mojo is the exact right word, and it's the word I was looking for earlier in describing the 2022 team, because that team did not have mojo. This team has inexplicable mojo, which is really how mojo always goes, from Jose Iglesias to the crowds to some of their other gimmicks they've had this year. They are the team this year that is so good for reasons that really you cannot put your finger on. Even the Mets cannot put their finger on, how good the rotation has been, how good Acuna's been, all of these things falling their way. It's been pretty wild. And how far can they go? It's hard for me to say because I did not expect them to be this good for this long. So I'm out of trying to predict or explain. I just don't know how you could bet against them in a short playoff series at this point.
That's right. Steve Cohen's about 5 weeks away from having to give a McDonald's mascot a ring. We can all go back to Grimace. You can write that for you. Tim Healy of Newsday. Thank you very much, my friend. I'll talk to you in October, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tim Healy of Newsday joining us here. Baseball tonight. First pitch, Mets and the Braves. Just about a half hour to go from Truist Park in Atlanta. So there's the Mets side of things. What about the Atlanta Braves side? They at least got to take 2 out of 3 of these games. The sweep would be monumental to help get themselves into the postseason picture. Short time ago, Sean Kelly spoke with Michael Harris of the Braves.
Kevin, thank you very much. Michael, let's talk some meaningful baseball in late September. The city is buzzing about the Braves right now. We've got all kinds of great series kicking off this week. What's the vibe for you and your teammates here in the clubhouse?
Yeah, I think it's still a chill vibe, but we know we have to come out and handle business in a big series, and I guess just come out and do what we can do. We can only handle what we can handle, and that means just coming out and winning the game. So as long as we win, we control our destiny. When
you think about what the Braves have been through this season, all the injuries, including yourself, is it somewhat surprising that you guys are in this position to make a play for this thing?
No, I wouldn't say surprising. I mean, I feel like every team knows at some point you're going to have injuries, and I think Alex does a good job of getting guys that can fill in those spots and still help the team win games. So I wouldn't say surprising, but definitely, I guess, hurt us a little bit to have as many injuries as we did for the amount of time we did.
You guys are playing very well of late. How would you say that you are playing? What's made it so good?
We're just trusting ourselves and not trying to do too much in those situations where we need to drive in runs. Getting the next man over and then trusting the guy behind us to get him in. So just pretty much playing clean baseball and pitchers going out there doing their job and I don't know, playing until the ninth inning.
Visiting with Michael Harris. Michael, in the 10 meetings so far this year between the Braves and the Mets, it's dead even, 5 for each of you all. What would you say is characteristic about the way these two teams match up?
It's always fun playing them. They're a great squad. They're going to come out and give us their all every night and give us their best. So it's a really competitive, series between us all the time, and it's really fun. So we both know we both need to win, so it'll make it a lot more fun tonight, and I'm glad we're at home to do it in front of our fans.
For you personally, if you look back on your baseball journey, is there something that you lean on a little bit when you get yourself into a situation like this?
I guess just being a kid, being a Braves fan and watching these games, against teams like the Mets and other teams where I was growing up watching it and seeing them in those big situations where they needed to win. It was like a must-win situation, and I don't know, just rooting for them. Now I'm in those same shoes and actually on the field with the jersey on. So just kind of knowing there's somebody that was like me out there needing us to win. So just going out there doing the job.
I was wondering if it meant more to a Georgia kid like yourself. I think you may have just answered that question a little bit. Did you think of a team in particular growing up, a particular Braves team that you'd like to emulate?
If any, the 2021 Braves kind of had the similar year. Ronald goes down, and other guys stepped up in the later part of the season to make a wild push to end up winning the World Series. So that's kind of our ultimate goal now, and it starts tonight. We can't really look too far ahead, but as long as we win tonight, we can, control our own destiny and have some success.
Thanks for sharing. All the best to you guys.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Michael Harris here, just outside the Braves dugout. Kevin, back to you.
All right, Sean Kelly with Michael Harris. The Braves begin tonight. Game and a half back of Arizona. The Braves are 85-71. The Diamondbacks are 87-70. So Arizona does have one less game to play than the Atlanta Braves so far in the season. The Braves have 6 remaining. 85-71 are the Atlanta Braves. Game and a half back of Arizona, 2 back of the New York Mets. So a 2-game, if the Braves win 2 against the Mets, that means they go into the final weekend of the season. 1 back of New York, things should start turning around, but they got to take at least 2 to the Atlanta Braves. Update in Philadelphia. Phillies have already clinched the NL East. They're tied with the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. Bottom of the first inning, Bryce Harper, Yabo. In my language, that means solo home run. Solo shot for Bryce Harper. Phillies have a 1-0 lead over the Chicago Cubs. I'm Kevin Winter. Coming up next on Baseball Tonight, are the Braves cooked? And what is the biggest storyline heading into the final weekend of the baseball season? And the Oakland A's say goodbye to Oakland. Memories about the Coliseum. All that's coming up next. This is Major League Baseball at ESPN Radio, the ESPN app.
Every fan knows the right player in the right position can be a game changer. Put LifeLock between your identity and identity thieves to monitor and alert you to threats you could miss. Plus, with a U.S.-based restoration specialist on your team, you won't have to face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other losses from identity theft alone. All backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package. Change the game on identity theft. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/sports.
Mike Greenberg.
That season is going to go down as a terrible year for the Giants. That was a bad team that somehow, through good coaching, and Daboll wound up the coach of the year, and Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones doing the things he can do, they wound up winning a bunch of games, and they made the playoffs, and they won a playoff game. And it convinced them and maybe others they were something that they clearly were not.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Plus, you can watch and listen on the ESPN app.
It's time to review the top 3 highlights of the day. I'm joined, as always, by my co-anchor, Snoop.
Hey, what up, though?
Snoop, number 1 has to be getting the new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence at T-Mobile.
Yeah, you should hustle down to T-Mobile like a dog chasing a squirrel chasing a nut.
Nice analogy, Snoop. Dogs do love to chase squirrels.
And squirrels love to chase those nuts.
On to highlight number 2, at T-Mobile, families can save 20% every month versus the other big guys.
That is very impressive. You know, y'all can take some of those savings and buy some Snoop merchandise.
That's exactly what I'm planning on doing with my savings, Snoop. Now, take it away, Snoop.
Head to T-Mobile.com and get the new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on them. Now drop that jingle.
With 24 monthly bill credits, eligible trade-in on Go 5G Next. Well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 connection charge. Cancel entire account before receiving 24 bill credits, and credit stop and balance on required finance agreement too. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See how you can save versus the other big guys at T-Mobile.com/switch. Apple Intelligence coming fall 2024.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6759. That's 800-575-6759. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. Find the Children is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted car. Call 1-800-294-0222. You'll receive the maximum tax deduction, and we provide fast, free pickup. Call 1-800-294-0222. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Call 1-800-294-0222. This advertisement was paid for in partnership with Cars R Us and Find the Children.
It's a good thing baseballs already have stitches, because the way these ball players are hitting them, yeah, they need stitches if they didn't already have them. So the next time you're watching a poor little baseball smacked off the wall in center, keep that little fella in your thoughts. It's hard to be a baseball right now. Baseball is something else. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
You're listening to Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Kevin Winter with you, about 20 minutes away from first pitch. Truist Park in Atlanta for the Mets and the Braves. Series of the year. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Kevin Winter with you. Couple of updates. Told you the Phillies 1-0 lead over the Cubs. Guardians 3-0 lead over the Reds. Cleveland is sitting 2 back of New York for the best record in the American League. Brewers 1-0 over the Pirates. Milwaukee's going to be the 3 seed in the National League. Kansas City and Washington, they are in a rain delay. Among the games later tonight, the A's and the Rangers at the Coliseum. The final 3 games that Oakland will play in the city of Oakland. Truly the end of an era.
A's are much more than amazing. The final out of the 1973 World Series seals a 5-2 win. And the Oakland A's have passed the test of champions with another 7-game triumph and their second consecutive championship. Von Joshua represents the Dodgers' last chance. Raleigh Fingers wraps it up, and the Oakland Coliseum explodes into ecstasy as the Oakland A's capture their third successive world championship.
The A's having come from behind a 1-0 deficit. Ricky goes, a pitch taken, he's going to have it. He does! Ricky Henderson, no contest, steals third base, jerks the bag from its moorings, and holds it aloft, representing number 939.
Luke Brock was a symbol of great base stealing. But today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
3 up on the Angels. Swung on, fly ball, deep right field. They've done it again. Pennington, he's got it. Throw to first. He did it. He did it. Dallas Braden has thrown a perfect game. Holy cow, he did it.
Chris will send it into right field, a base hit. Seth Smith's coming around, and the Oakland A's will live another day. Game 5 is tomorrow.
Some of the great moments in the history of the Oakland A's at the Coliseum in Oakland. If you do not know by now, they are moving to Las Vegas. Eventually, next year, they will play in Sacramento. Their owner, John Fisher, yesterday penned a letter to Oakland A's fans. In part, it reads, "The A's are part of the fabric of Oakland, the East Bay, and the entire Bay Area. When Lou Wolf and I bought the team in 2005, our dream was to win a championship and win championships and build a new ballpark in Oakland. Over the next 18 years, we did our very best to make that happen. We proposed and pursued 5 different locations in the Bay Area. And despite mutual and ongoing efforts to get a deal done for the Howard Terminal project, we came up short. Only in 2021, after 16 years of working exclusively of developing a home in the Bay Area and faced with a binding MLB agreement to find a new home by 2024, did we begin to explore taking the team to Las Vegas." Larry Beal of ABC7 into the Bay Area.
So, you heard Fisher's statement. Let me tell you what reality is, okay? John, you tried 5 different, extremely flawed stadium proposals. You never got even close to a shovel in the ground. Yes, Oakland politics is often a mess. I will give you that. But, John, you surround yourself with incompetent yes men, and because you were born into a billionaire family, apparently never learned you have to spend money to make money. See Joe Lacob and the Golden State Warriors, your buddy, who still wants to buy the team. John, you're a serial penny pincher. I guess, like most A's fans, I'm balancing between sadness and anger. And right now, I think anger's winning.
Larry Beal, ABC7 in the Bay Area. We welcome back Jesse Rogers for Baseball Insider. Jesse, my first memory of the Coliseum is the 13-year-old me back in 1990 watching racing home for the Game 4 of the ALCS. Sox, my beloved Sox, are down 3-0 to the Oakland A's, but it's okay. We got Roger Clemens on the mound. And Clemens gets ejected in the second inning of the American League Championship Series by an umpire whose name I still know to this day, Terry Cooney. Do you have any memories of the Coliseum and the A's playing in the Coliseum?
You know, it's not as much the Coliseum as it is the tradition of that team in Oakland. I mean, it's not that different than the Oakland Raiders, to be honest. The A's, for the longest time now, have been synonymous with Oakland, and the players that have come through there, Reggie Jackson, Ricky Henderson, Jose Canseco, McGuire, La Russa being out there, Mulder, the Moneyball. There's a lot of tradition tied up in Oakland and the A's being in Oakland, and all that is going away now. So it's not so much the Coliseum as it is the A's being in Oakland, and it's just, sad for the fan base there, as we've seen some other teams, like I said, leave that city as well. But that is a very a team with a lot of tradition, and it's kind of going to be forgotten as they move to Vegas eventually, with a stop in Sacramento first.
Jesse, I also want to get to what happens this week around Major League Baseball. You and 3 of your colleagues on ESPN.com answered a bunch of questions. Let's go through these questions and why. Who wins this series? And by this series, I mean the Mets and the Braves. We have it coming up in a matter of moments here on ESPN Radio with First Pitch. You said it's the Mets. Why do you think so?
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like the Braves are limping to the finish line here. It's been an uphill battle for a while, and I don't blame them if they don't make it to the postseason for the first time in several years. They lost Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr., and not just a week ago. They lost these guys months ago,
yes.
Let alone some of the other injuries. They just got Albies back. The Mets, look at them. The Citi Field is rocking all weekend. They have the mojo that the Braves once had back in 21 when they went to the postseason and won it all. I'm stating the obvious here, right? The Mets have the momentum, and the Braves are just too banged up to overcome all of this. Still going to be a good season for them. So, look, I don't think I'm going out on a limb by picking the Mets, but I have the ultimate respect that the Braves even have hung in it this long. How many teams can lose their best pitcher and their best position player and still be in the hunt? So I'm sort of, again, choosing the obvious thing here and taking the Mets.
You were asked which individual player achievement are you looking forward to, and you went with a widespread one. Will we have more than one National League hitter finish above 300? Because you called yourself old or old school. I'm going with both, by the way. I looked it up. You've got Luis Arraez at 318, Ozuna at 309, and Shohei at 301. Are we going to get at least 2?
Yeah, it looks like we will. I mean, I guess I wrote that a couple days ago, right? Yep. And at that time, it was just Arraez and Ozuna was like at 307. So it would have taken a slump, and it still will, for him to drop below 300.
It's unreal.
Yeah, well, and think about it, in all seriousness. With the rule changes, we may end up with only 2 or 1. I mean, this was all supposed to be about increasing balls in play, balls getting through the infield and things like that, and we've gone backwards. Now, there's a few more in the AL, Bobby Witt, Aaron Judge, but yeah, it's a sad state of affairs that we don't have more hitters like Luis Arraez.
Let's give Arraez credit, too. It's not like he only went above 300 last week, Jesse. He's been there all season long. That's how consistent Luis Arraez has been. Jesse Rogers, our Baseball Insider. Final one you were asked, or one of the final ones you were asked, what storyline are you looking forward to? And you wrote basically the playoff picture, meaning which teams get the bye and which team gets home field advantage. Is there one, or are there multiple teams here you think it's more important for?
Anybody that can avoid that 4th round is going to have an advantage. I'd say the Dodgers probably need the bye more than most teams because they have some pitching issues. But I think you want to set things up and not worry about the rust. Remember, that's a rust versus rest issue. I think this year you don't want to have to beat 4 teams to win it all, or 4 rounds to win it all. You want to get past that first round and just start with the division series. So I think it's important for everybody to get that bye.
Jesse Rogers, the one and only. He's going to be on a wild card series when ESPN and ABC exclusively have coverage of the wild card series beginning next week. It'll start on Tuesday. ESPN Radio, remember, we are your exclusive home for every pitch of Major League Baseball's postseason. Tune in next Tuesday. Times will be determined, but wild card, division series, American League and National League Championship Series, and every pitch of the World Series can be heard exclusively here on ESPN Radio. Up next, we bring you first pitch in Game 1 of a monster series in Atlanta between the Braves and the Mets. This is Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app.
Traveling with your furry friends can be rough. Just getting them to come along is difficult enough, so the last thing you want to worry about is finding a place to stay. But when you choose Baymont by Wyndham, your four-legged companions are invited because they know pets are family too. At Baymont by Wyndham, pets are not just welcome, they're VIPs. Baymont by Wyndham. Come on in. So glad you're here. Book now at wyndhamhotels.com/Baymont.
What's up, y'all? It's Drewski, here to talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. When my lineup hits, I can get my money in less than 15 minutes.
Right now, PrizePicks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the PrizePicks Daily Fantasy app and use code OT. That's code OT on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
This is Carlin versus Joe. Chris Carlin, Joe Fortenbaugh.
How much longer do we have to indulge the idea that Davante Adams is happy in Vegas? If you're Joe Douglas right now, you need to be on the phone every couple of days. When are you going to trade him? Because that is a difference maker for the Jets, and for the Raiders, it's not a difference maker.
Carlin versus Joe. Weekdays at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and on SiriusXM Channel 80.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them.
With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise.
No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures.
It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Kevin Winter will get you up to Truist Park in Atlanta coming up. Welcome to the final week of the Major League Baseball regular season. Lots to be decided. We could be spraying the bubbly tonight. Could happen in New York for the Yankees. Yanks' magic number to clinch the American League East is down to 1 over Baltimore. Jesse Rogers on the Orioles and perhaps avoiding another disastrous flameout of a season.
I think it's going to be difficult. It's one of those weird years where they've been shaky in their lineup. They've had injuries in their pitching staff. Having said that, there's so much parity that things can change on a dime, and their best foot forward might be starting next week for all we know. It just doesn't feel right. But we've had a lot of teams in the past not feel right and all of a sudden catch fire in October. My concern, as much as all the pitching injuries and where they find relievers and starters, is really they've been inconsistent in the lineup. It hasn't been as smooth as you would think. And that's one reason I think that streak of getting swept, ended early this season, because their offense has gone into hibernation. So I think there's too many holes. But again, this is baseball. Weird things happen. I would not put it past any team to pull off some upsets starting next week. So they're good. They're just not as elite as they looked, going into the season.
All right, the Orioles begin the night as the number 1 wild card spot. Again, the Yankee win tonight, and they will wrap up the American League East. Or let's put it this way. Yankees' magic number to clinch the AL East is 1, and it's a 3-game series with the Orioles. So 1 Yankee win, and this thing's over. Baltimore does have a lead over the Kansas City Royals. Over the Detroit Tigers now, because the Tigers won today. Tigers are the second wild card in the American League, half game up on Kansas City. Royals in a weather delay right now. Minnesota and Seattle right now are on the outside looking in. Minnesota will throw first pitch next hour. Same will the Mariners. They're in Houston trying to track down the Astros. In the National League, it's real simple. The NL wild card is Padres, Mets, Diamondbacks, Braves. Padres do have an outside shot to catch the Dodgers. They're sitting just 3 back, and wouldn't you know it, those 2 teams start a series tonight. But a lot of eyes are on Atlanta. Can the Braves make it to the postseason, or will they flame out? A lot of it could be because of injuries, and a lot of it can be determined starting tonight. Mets and the Braves, time now to go to Truist Park in Atlanta for first pitch. We join our broadcast team with Greg Olson. Here's Sean Kelly.
Kevin, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, from the north side of Atlanta, right back here at Truist Park, where we thought we might be a long time ago in this season. Or did we? It's changed a lot since early on. But these 2 old rivals renew acquaintances tonight in a best-of-3 series The New York Mets are right now in the postseason picture with a 2-game lead over Atlanta, just on the outside looking in, and clearly now a game and a half back of Arizona for the final wild card spot. So over the next 3 days, a lot could be determined. The fate of each of these teams, whether one has the tiebreak over the other. All that, of course, is reminiscent of prior meetings between these two down the stretch of a regular season. Hi again, everybody. I'm Sean Kelly. The former big leaguer Greg Olson's alongside, just as it should be. These old NL East folks, the Mets and the Braves, now, of course, a part of different things. And in this wild card picture, well, we'll have 3 to join the division leaders soon enough. This is going to be interesting. It's a treat for us.
It really is. I'm excited to watch this game. And, I mean, you grow up and you're watching Mets, Braves coming down to the wire for the NL East. And the Phillies have taken over for the last couple of years, but this is what you look forward to when you're scraping out a schedule. It's, okay, what's the best matchups we got? And this is as good as it gets.
No doubt. And the pitching matchups are outstanding tonight, too. We'll focus on the 2 starters, a pair of right-handers, in just a moment. Take me through the perspective, if you will, of each of these clubs. The Mets are in the driver's seat a little bit. They'd like to hold that position. Atlanta, meanwhile, is fighting for their postseason lives.
You know, I don't really think you're going to sit back there and I can say, well, the Mets are going, hey, let's just get 2 out of 3. Or the Braves are going, let's just get 2 out of 3. They're going, game on right now, we got to win. And both teams are looking at it like we need to take care of our business all 3 games, starting with the first inning of game 1. And, there's no momentum on either side. I think both teams are playing well, and it did what they needed to do last week to get us to this point.
Let's get to the pitching matchup. As I mentioned, a pair of right-handers. Luis Severino goes for the New York Mets tonight. And then young Spencer Schwellenbach, also a right-hander, on the mound for Atlanta.
Yeah, both these guys are 6-pitch mix guys. And finding out about Severino last year, disastrous year. He goes about and fixes his preparation, does everything down to his diet, his sleep patterns, and has come out this year 11-6, 3.99 ERA, 3.79 ERA, His 4 games against Atlanta, his last 4, he's 4-0 with a 2.64 ERA. So he feels good facing this Atlanta Braves team. And then bring us to Spencer Schwellenbach, and he has been throwing extremely well. He's 6-3 his last 13 games. And September, I mean, you're looking at rookies going run out of gas, pressure of the moment. Not this kid, man. He's 2-1 in September with a 3 ERA. Both these guys are getting it done, looking for a low offense, scrapping out, finding a way to get runs.
Meaningful baseball this time of year. You yourself pitched in 600 games over your career. You know what this feels like. It's the grind, the marathon of a long season. And then now we're focusing in some cases, on 5 to 6 games left for all these teams.
Yeah, and you know it, too. You recognize the moment that you're in. And the 156 games you've played up until this point, you don't feel a thing. You are totally lit up. You're ready to go. You got adrenaline rush. This is the moment that you've spent 156 games to get ready for. And there is not one bit of fatigue. Nobody's tired. Nobody's sore. It is flat game on like game 1.
And you know also about playing your best baseball at the right time. We saw the Tigers win earlier today. They're a red-hot team. I'd argue that both the Braves and the Mets are in a similar phase right now. Each are at a high-water mark. Braves 14 games over 500, their highest mark all year. And here is, of course, New York, who in less than 4 months has gone from 10 under to 18 over, their best record so far this season.
And you kind of look back at the Mets going, man, these guys might have been in a selling position as of June 1st. Big team meeting, turn it around, best record in MLB.
All right, the Atlanta Braves have taken the field here to begin this final homestand. Let's get you the starting lineups for both managers, Carlos Mendoza and Brian Snitker. We'll start with the visiting New York Mets. Jose Iglesias is going to lead it off. He'll play second base. Brandon Nimmo in left field, batting second. Starling Marte in right field tonight. Pete Alonso, red hot these days, at first base and batting cleanup. Jesse Winker, who loves playing here in Atlanta, is the designated hitter. Mark Vientos at third base. Batting seventh is the center fielder Tyrone Taylor. The catcher tonight, Francisco Alvarez. And then rounding out the New York Nine. A very good story tonight. We'll get more into that. Luis Angel Acuna will play shortstop and round out that lineup. Iglesias, Nimmo, Marte, Alonso, Winker, Vientos, Taylor, Alvarez, and Acuna. Meanwhile, for Atlanta tonight, Michael Harris will play center field. He'll lead it off. Ozzie Albies will be at second base. Marcelo Zuna's the designated hitter and bats third. Matt Olson at first base tonight in the cleanup spot. Jorge Soler in right field. Ramon Laureano in left field, followed by the catcher tonight, Travis d'Arnaud. Gio Urshela's at third base and batting eighth, and Orlando Arcia rounds out the Atlanta nine. He's at short. Harris, Albies, Ozuna, Olson, Soler, Laureano, d'Arnaud, Urshela, and Arcia. As we mentioned tonight, the pitching matchup featuring Severino and Spencer Schwellenbach. And for Schwellenbach, he'll make his 20th career start tonight, his second ever against the New York Mets. One of his best outings ever against the Mets back on July 27th at Citi Field. Fanned a career-best 11 in Atlanta's 4-0 win. He went 7 scoreless innings. The series this year between the two all knotted up. 5 wins aside, so the winner of this series will also have the head-to-head tiebreak should we need that come Sunday perhaps. Mike Estabrook's our home plate umpire. He's all set to go, so are we. We're glad you're with us here tonight from Truist Park, where it is very lovely out. 83 degrees at first pitch, and a swing and a foul to start us off here at 7:22 p.m. So just underway, and Iglesias up there on the right side as the Mets are in the road grays tonight. The royal blue letters and numbers trimmed in orange. Schwellenbach peers in, and the 0-1. Pop foul out of play off to the right. We're going to have a lot of guys with some eye-popping